Hello everyone, hope we're having a good 2024 so far, kind of settling in, sussing out the vibes. Got my little bevy here. The ASMR is not very good because I have little nubbies right now. Don't look too closely, please. The weather's giving like a gloomy kind of vibe and I thought we could just have like a little cozy chit chat and do a little bit of a Q&A. I haven't done one of these before. I'm actually low-key like a wee bit nervy. It just feels like a little bit, I don't know, like self-indulgent, like what do you want to know about me? But I also feel like it's a nice way to kind of collect up and chat about some topics that I don't really get to cover in other videos in any real way. So thank you to all of you who sent in questions via IG or on the YouTube community tab or on my Discord for YouTube members. Enough skirting around, let's get into it. So this first one, I feel like it's a good way to kind of get into it. This is actually from my friend Erin, who some of you may know, Erin Smith Art. If you're wanting to get into bullet journaling in 2024, if that's your New Year's resolution, if you want to be more organized, you should go check out her channel. It's amazing. She's so talented and I love her. So little quick shout out to my friend Erin. She asked me, what was your highlight of 2023? And I mean, I feel like I would be hard pressed to not say the trip I took to Japan and Korea. I really had such an amazing time on that trip and it felt really surreal getting to travel again after many years of not traveling. And it just really reaffirmed how much I love traveling. And I got to share that trip and the memories with both my mum, and I got to take her to Japan for the first time. She'd never been. And I also got to go to Korea with Max, who is my boyfriend, if you don't know. I don't know when it gets like awkward to keep being like my boyfriend, because I know for a lot of you who've been around for a long time, you guys know Max. But then I also don't want to be presumptuous that you like all know my boyfriend's name. So yeah, my boyfriend Max, we went to Korea together and that was really fun. And I also kind of bookended the trip with some solo travel time in both places, which I also enjoy. And yeah, I don't know, it's been a bit of a like an odd year, and it's just such a lovely trip and I got to kind of let loose a little bit, get a little bit silly, and I really want to take that energy into 2024. I just want to be silly. I am a silly person and I think I've been quite serious. More laughing, more goofs and gaffs, more bits. That's what I want for 2024. That was like the highlight of my 2023 and I want more of that in 2024. Okay, next question is fave treat of the summer season. That one is tough because I am a big little treat enjoyer. I have been really liking these, which I'm drinking one of them as I film. These are the Remedy blood orange sodalies. They're just like little blood orange sodas and they're really like tart and refreshing. And this like also poured over some ice and just like going sip sip. It's really good. Like they're not too sweet and it's kind of like a kombucha-y sort of vibe, which I really enjoy. Also, I've been really big into the iced matchas. That's sort of been throughout like the whole year, but especially in the warmer months, especially when it's like a nice quality matcha. And it doesn't have to be like super duper fancy, because with like iced matcha latte, at a certain point it is kind of like diminishing returns. But just getting like a nice quality, like flavorful, vibrant green matcha is just so good. I always really appreciate it. I have like my little sips and I'm just like, life is good. And then another thing that I wasn't expecting to like were the Alani peach energy drinks. I am historically not an energy drink girly. Like I've not identified with that label, but Alani sent me an email being like, oh, do you want to like try it? Like no strings, like we just want to see if you like it. And I was like, oh, well, like I guess I can try it, because I'd heard good things about them and like some people and mutuals I follow from the States, because it has only just come out in Australia, had been raving about Alani, and I was like, well, I'll try it. And it's really good. It is kind of like rocket fuel though. I am a bit caffeine sensitive, so if I have one of those, I tend to only have like a half a one at a time, but they're so yummy and have like a nice like sour peach juicy with like a little fizz in it. They're very tasty. And I realized that those are all drinks when they asked for treats. I don't know if that counts, and I meant to also include food, but I do really like beverages. I have what they call the silly little beverage disease. I usually have minimum 2 beverages like on my desk at any one time. I love a little drink, so those have been my favorite summer treats recently. We should have like treat talk all the time. I love talking about treats. Oh, okay, so the next couple of questions are from my Rat Royalty bibbies, which are the YouTube channel members, and they sent these through on our little private members only Discord. Let's jump into those. First one is, do you have any pets? And no, I don't, sadly. It's just tricky with renting and also with travel stuff. Would maybe like to have a pet eventually. I just want to make sure I'm like a responsible pet owner, you know? Although I have considered, but I don't know. I've considered getting a yabby, which is that, do you guys call them yabbies overseas? A yabby's like you can buy them at like bait shops for like fishing. They're like little like little crustacean-y guys. And one of my friends had a yabby and she said she just fed it frozen peas and corn. And I don't know, they're kind of funny. I kind of like them. Favorite karaoke song. Okay, I've actually thought about this quite a bit because I love going to karaoke. I actually think currently my favorite karaoke song is Animals by Maroon 5. I'm not a big Maroon 5 fan or anything. I just laugh every time I hear the song. And I also think it's really like, if you've listened to the song, it's just really like hardcore. And so it's like fun to perform with a group because it's like really intense. So you can kind of like really get into it. I feel like Everywhere has Animals by Maroon 5, like it's a pretty sure bet, but Purple Lamborghini, sorry. Okay, have I talked about my like Purple Lamborghini obsession? I feel like I could make an entire like video essay on Purple Lamborghini, but also like who would watch that? I do toy sometimes with making just like little video essays on like my second channel or something. I don't know, because sometimes I'm like, this is so niche and I just want to put it somewhere. Purple Lamborghini is, they just don't always have it, but it's so funny. And then depending on which friends I'm with, I was like a musical theatre kid. So if I'm with the right group of friends, we'll do like musical theatre stuff. But obviously like when you're in a bigger group and you're like queuing up musical theatre songs that have like really intense intros and like not everyone knows them, and then you're kind of like trying as you're singing is not always the vibe. But when you're with the right people and it is the vibe, that's really fun. And also like Lady Marmalade, like the Moulin Rouge version with Christina Aguilera and like Little Kim and Maya and Pink is great. Love that song. You gotta have like some options because you gotta pick the crowd and match the vibe. What brands and sponsors are you looking forward to working with, and what brands would you want to work with? Ooh, a little Burgos question for Lucy Livin Enterprises. I'm continuing to work with a few brands that I have a really good ongoing relationship with. I'm always kind of like cautious to tell you things that haven't come out yet, because sometimes behind the scenes, even if something ends up going really well, suddenly like a timeline thing will be off and then it doesn't end up happening or whatnot. And basically any brand that you see me like repeatedly working with means that it's like a good mutual partnership. Like they're happy with me, I'm happy with them. You know, there's like a love match there. There's like a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes on. Like even sometimes there are brands that I would love to work with and we have talks, but just in terms of what they're wanting at the moment and then like what I'm wanting to do at the moment, they're kind of different things. Things don't work out, which can be sad sometimes, but that's just how it is. But I do have some cool ones coming up that I'm really excited about. And in terms of brands I would want to work with, there are honestly like so many, like basically any brand that I speak highly of and I'm not already working with them, if I like their products and I like them, you know, I'd probably be pretty happy to work with them. In terms of a specific brand, maybe this is me shooting my shot in like the middle of a Q&A video that the brand will probably not see, but I would love to work with Samsung. Don't mind my like phone case, but I have been a Samsung Galaxy girly since like the S2. I really like my Galaxy phone. I always replace with Galaxies. I'm like a Galaxy girly, so that would be super, super cool. Otherwise, more generally, I'd like to do some like more travel kind of collaborations. I think that would be really fun. Maybe like a language learning app or something like that. I'm not so strict on it being like just, you know, fashion brands or just beauty brands, because I kind of make like a big mix of content. So yeah, open to things if anyone like wants to send me an email. And those were the Rat Royalty questions. Back to kind of the general mix. What were your top makeup and skincare products of the year? It's funny because I was like, oh, I'll have like a bunch for each category, but actually 2 main products came to mind, to front of mind. Could be some recency bias in there, but for makeup, the product was the Jungsaemul Essential Skin Nude Cushion. I picked it up when I was in Korea. I wasn't 100% sure which color I was, so when I went in person to Korea, I thought that would be a good time to pick it up. And honestly, it's such a good product. I have been using it so much and I don't really have any cons with the product. And then for skincare, there is a product that I have been using recently and I got sent this to try in PR, and it is the Fresh Rose Deep Hydration Face Cream. I feel like it's gonna go on the favorites list of the skincare spreadsheet, which if you haven't seen that, I'll link it down below. If you're new or if you didn't know, I have a spreadsheet with all the skincare that I've tried. It's a thing. But I think it's gonna go like straight into the favorites tab. It's really, really good, especially if you are dry and / or dehydrated. It's just so rich and like cushiony and plush. Sometimes with thicker moisturizers, they kind of just like sit on top of the skin and they don't really sink in. They can kind of feel a little bit like greasy. This doesn't do that. It's like really luxurious and I feel like it really hydrates my skin. Like if I don't have time or I can't be bothered to do a lot of layers for my skin because I really easily get dehydrated, I just put that on after cleansing and it's like, it's so good. If you like the Tatcha Dewy Cream, I think you would also like the Fresh one. And I would say those are my like 2 skincare and makeup like products that have stood out to me this year. If you had to live in a different country, where would it be? And that is tough because I have mentioned it before, but if you didn't know, I did actually grow up overseas. I lived in Hong Kong from when I was about 2 to when I was 9. So the idea of being an expat is not like a foreign one. It's kind of like a bad pun. But yeah, it's not like a foreign idea, except for the fact that it is foreign because you'd be living in a foreign country. Ha ha ha. There's so many places where I feel like I could picture living there. Japan sort of feels like a little bit of an obvious one. It's quite close to Australia, like relatively in terms of countries. Australia is a little bit isolated in the corner here. And like with any place, like kind of, you know, situationally matters in terms of like what kind of job and like what your work situation would be like and all of that. So there's that, but I still do think Japan would be fun and Max has been there as well and he also really likes it, so that's one. Or maybe also potentially like the UK because it's culturally quite similar to Australia in a lot of ways, and also if you're Australian you probably are like across this, but it's a pretty classic move for Australians to like go live in the UK for a little bit because the UK is obviously like right in the middle of Europe, so you can really easily travel to other countries in Europe like for a long weekend and stuff, so that's like tempting and fun in that way. I feel like there are probably other places that I haven't been to that if I go to I would probably want to live there as well, which ties into our next question because maybe we'll have some, you know, new candidates soon. But where is your next travel destination? And I'm so excited to talk about this. I've sort of like mentioned that I'm going on a trip or going traveling soon, but everything's like locked in now and it's happening really soon. So I'm like, here it is. Max and I are gonna go to North America. So we are doing Mexico and a few spots on the east coast of the States. And then we're also randomly going to Rome for a week, just because that's how our rewards points flight situation worked out. And we were like, you know, why not go to Italy for a week on the way back? So more specifically, in case anyone's interested in the more specific itinerary, we're doing and if I get any of the pronunciation wrong, I'm so sorry, the Yucatan Peninsula, and then we're doing Oaxaca and Mexico City. And then we're going to New Orleans, Washington, DC, and then New York. And then, like I said, randomly Rome for a week. So if you have any recommendations for any of those places, or if you are a local to any of those places, please do let me know down in the comments. We've been planning it for a little bit, but it's now like coming up soon. It's going to be 2 months. I have like a few ideas that I want to film, but I will not film as many videos as I filmed when I was in Japan and Korea, which I still have some of those kind of like in the drive ready to be edited and come out. So you'll be seeing a couple more of those soon. I just get nervous about editing those ones because like I really want them to be good. I'm not putting as much pressure on myself to make like as much content for all the platforms on this trip, but in saying that, I do like making content. I do like working. So I'll definitely be doing something. So my plan is probably to do vlogs on TikTok. So if you're not following me on there, I did some for my Japan and Korea trip and I really enjoyed it. And it was kind of easy to do as I like went about my day. And they also did quite well. People seem to like them. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. And then also like some IG stories as well. And that's probably the main way you can follow along with the trip, like in real time. And then if I do end up filming any YouTube videos on the trip, then they'll come out when I'm back. So yeah, I'm very excited, and also leads into the next question, which is, are you excited to move? I think I've mentioned, no, I definitely have mentioned that I am moving. We are moving out of our apartment. I do love this apartment, but it just kind of timed out that our lease was ending, and then we wanted to go traveling, and we wanted to go traveling for, again, like a slightly longer period. So it didn't really make sense to keep the apartment and like pay the rent. So we are moving back in with family, which we're really lucky to be able to do that. Our family like lives in Brisbane where we live at the moment, and they've been very nice and like happy to have us back. We're moving out in like a week, so we're doing all of that in the background. So if any of the videos I film between now and moving out look a little weird, that's probably why. Hence the intense level of decluttering, because we're not just like moving from one place to another, we're like moving out and then like moving again. And so it makes sense to kind of just streamline and cut down while we're doing that. And like, I don't hate that we're doing that process. Like, I think it's good to do anyway. It's like a good practice to have. But it is also like a little bit time consuming, a little bit stressful. I feel like moving is always stressful. So we're moving in with family, and then like quite shortly after that, we're going on the trip. And then when we come back, we'll see what happens. And the next question, would you ever move to Sydney or anywhere else in Australia? Yes, I would. We will see what happens when we come back from the trip. Next question, how did you get into a gym routine? Also, how hype are you for Professor Layton? Oh man, I could make a whole video about gym stuff, and I kind of want to, but also it would be quite different for what I do on here, but also like, I don't know, kind of not. And I'm not a professional, but I do feel like I could probably at least talk to how I went from being a person who was like, I don't go to the gym, it's not my thing, to being a person who's like, yeah, I go to the gym, which I suppose isn't really like a huge difference. But if you were or are a person who doesn't like going to the gym for whatever reason and you would like to go, maybe I can help with that aspect. I actually got quite a lot of different questions about my gym routine, and understandably, because I have obviously showed you my progress on Instagram stories with my levitation technique. I think I will do another video kind of covering it in more detail, but in terms of like practical points about how I got into the gym, in like practical terms, all I did was sign up to the gym and start going. But I did work with a PT for a bit, just to kind of get used to like some of the equipment and get like set up with like a little bit of like a beginner kind of routine. And then I think once I got comfortable with that, like I just worked with them for a period, and then I just have been working out on my own basically for the last year. But in terms of like what got me into it, into like the habit and like sticking with it, was I think I needed the right like magic source of motivation. And for me, honestly, it was actually, a lot of it was mental health. I work from home and I am a freelancer. I work on my own. So I have a very flexible schedule, which is good, but I also don't have a lot of structure, which is good and bad. So having, you know, going to the gym be part of like a routine helped add routine in. Also like leaving the house, having human interaction. I'm an extrovert, so I enjoy that. And just also like moving my body, right? If you work from home, you don't really have a commute. So I don't really get those like extra steps in that I would normally get from public transports. And then as a result, it also made me feel good about like my overall like physical health as well. And then once I started going and like seeing improvement and feeling like I was like getting stronger, because I primarily weightlift, that kind of like added in additional motivation. But in saying all of that, I am not like a perfect gym goer. I don't have like the most amazing progress in the world. Sometimes like I take a couple of steps back before I go forward. I don't really have like super concrete goals at the moment, which isn't like awesome. But because my reason for going to the gym is just because I like thought it was going to be good for me, and now that I've been, I know how it's been good for me, that's why I go, you know? So yeah, I can make a whole video and like go into it and give you some more like tips. Yeah, I'm no expert, okay? No promises, but yes, that's how I started going to the gym. And even my mum recently said to me, she was like, would you ever believe like that you would become a gym person? And I was like, no, I did not. But here we are. And then the second part of that question, how hype are you for Professor Layton? I am so hype. One of the things I really like to do to like have downtime and like really relax is play video games. And one of my favorite game series of all time is Professor Layton. I'm a big Professor Layton fan. And I was actually watching the live stream when they announced it, and like the moment it came on screen and I like heard the music, I was like, it's not like, I was like really excited. I like started tearing up because it's been a really long time since the last Professor Layton game. They had those like mobile port games, but like it's not quite the same. So I'm very, very excited for Professor Layton, but it's not coming out for ages yet. But it just kind of had me wanting to replay some of the old ones because it's been long enough that I've like forgotten the puzzle solutions, you know? I'm so excited. And that was all the questions. No other questions about anything else. 20 2023 was a bit weird for me, to be honest. Definitely had some really great moments, but definitely had some that were, I would say, uniquely unpleasant. If you've been around for a little bit, you probably know that I don't talk about my like private life a lot. Like I talk about personal things, but not like personal things. And I'm about to chat about some stuff. And if you're kind of like, Lucy, what are you talking about? Don't worry about it. But I do feel like I just wanted to say something about it because I haven't. It wasn't really my plan to be involved in drama, but I'm sure you can imagine that it was really unpleasant to have things shared about myself and my life. Kind of, well, not kind of, against my will. And also some things that were about me, but also not true. And having that felt just like deeply unfair and honestly quite hurtful. I have been really lucky to have a huge amount of support around me with my friends, my family, my lovely boyfriend Max, and resources available to kind of get through it. Because honestly, just being 100% with you was not really fun. Would not recommend. It was rough and actively bad and awful, actually. I was really, really anxious at points of the year and upset, and I didn't feel that speaking up and saying stuff would have been helpful at the time. And actually, I thought it could potentially cause further harm at times to the people involved. So I didn't say anything, and I was just silent about it, and I was just kind of, you know, being a little rock. And I felt like that was the best course of action, and I think it was the right course of action at the time, but it was really painful to see what was being said. I had people harassing me and asking me lots of questions, but on the flip side, I did also have some people who did message me privately to check if I was doing okay. I didn't really respond in much detail to those messages because I was sort of nervous to involve myself in that way, and I was also kind of not wanting to admit that what was happening, but thank you to those people. I'm sure you know who you are. That was very nice. But yeah, it is a unique experience as a human woman to have yourself as an online entity discussed like as a topic in that way. Like, it's a bit weird, but it's really weird when you're getting jump scared about your own personal information being shared in quite a vindictive fashion. It was kind of like, oh, is that what the truth is? How interesting. I don't remember it being that way, but sure, it's giving lies, but go off, I guess. And just the anxiety of feeling like this unpleasantness could just strike at any time. It was just really, really hard to not feel on edge. Like, the nervous system was working overtime. Someone give her some annual leave. Honestly, nothing beats playing some video games on a Sunday afternoon with your boyfriend and then receiving a bunch of messages, seeing if you've seen the latest drop that implies some very interesting things about your character and your relationships. Or when you're going to a bakery in Kyoto and you're picking up some breakfast for yourself and your mum, and you get a bunch of messages from people asking if you are okay, because there has been a new personal information drop that implies things about your professional character, with messages that are creatively cropped and lacking context. Very fun. So cool. Loves it. And like, looking at it on paper, it's just kind of wild. But I hadn't acknowledged it, and I wanted to acknowledge it and basically say that, and I can only speak for myself, but that treatment is not okay, was not okay. I felt that it wasn't right for me to be treated that way. It felt really unempathetic. It was really hurtful, and it was quite awful and bad, actually. And in summary, this was my mood for a good portion of 2023.
Actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen.
Max, is there anything you wanted to add?
No one even gives me credit for organising the Tasmania trip. It was my idea, and yet it's completely excluded from the narrative. So I just want to be on the record and say that it was my idea to go to Tasmania.
Anyways, that aside, I hope you all had a lovely 2023. And if it wasn't, I hope you are doing okay. I'm not super big into New Year's resolutions. I don't put a lot of stock into the like December 31st, January 1st of it all, because I think you can always make, you know, like a positive change at any point during the year. And if you don't start your thing on like January 1st, like, you haven't missed the boat Any day is a good day. But in saying that, I do feel like 2024 is shaping up to be a big year. There's a lot of things happening. I'm very excited. I'm a little bit nervous, but I am really keen and hoping to feel a little bit more myself this year. And I can't say enough, it's goofy time. It's silly season. You thought silly season was the festive season? No, with me, full year, 365 days, silly season. So yeah, hopefully there were some questions answered here. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.